Welcome everybody. Today is Wellbeing Wednesday, and the purpose of Wellbeing Wednesday is to really promote the importance of well-being. And I'm super excited because we've got Anthony Trucks on the show, which is awesome. Hey. Hi Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely awesome, thanks.
Beautiful.
So for the audience, do you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you?
Yeah, my name is Anthony Trucks. I hail from Antioch, California, which is the northern area of California, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, man. I create a whole bunch of stuff. One of the big parts of my life is I'm a former NFL athlete. I'm a current American Ninja Warrior. I own a gym, and so health is a humongous part of my life. I'm also brand into the world of like entrepreneurial coaching. So I teach people how to launch and create randomness from their brain to change their world. So there's a humongous brain-body connection between the work I do and every human being on the planet. And so I love to kind of bridge that gap to help people be better in life.
Awesome. So for me, well-being is really important. I know we met at High Performance Academy live, and you really inspired my mum to really take control of her well-being. And the framework that I talk about is the importance of our emotional, our physical, our mental, and our spiritual well-being. So what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think it's all connected. There's no separation between any of them. The mental aspect is a spiritual aspect. It's how you see and believe and feel about yourself, I think. And I think that becomes the backline to anything we want to do in life. If you don't have this inset belief in self, nothing progresses forward the right way for life. And so my entire company is called Trust Your Hustle, which in and of itself is a weird mixture between the spiritual and the non-spiritual aspect, because hustle is this hustle, it's grit, this drive, physical thing. And trust is a more personal, emotional, philosophical type concept. If you think about it, like to trust something or trust someone or trust yourself. So the Trust Your Hustle statement and name in and of itself has that duality to it.
Awesome. So for yourself, do you have any experiences you'd like to share with regards to the importance of looking after our well-being for the audience?
Oh man, do I have some of those? we want to delve in. We can go super deep if we want to. We could dive right in and
let's go super deep. I love it.
Let's do it. So this is typically an area that let's say a former NFL big strong black male gym owner, like this is something that you're not typically going to hear most people say, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna break the mold a little bit, because I believe if I'm gonna do so, it's gonna have to help people. So about 2010. Now, granted, my personal backstory, I grew up in foster care, had a lot of weird things happen. Family is a humongously big important piece to me and my whole like self-worth and self-being. And at this time, I was owning my gym. I was married, had 3 kids, but marriage wasn't going too well. I ended up finding out that my wife at the time was having an affair. And it really just it shook my soul. Like it took me to the bottoms. I remember for a good 3 months, I felt like I was just in this really dark haze. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know, every day seemed like this crazy soul draining experience, because I also own a gym. So my job is to make other people happy. So I'm dead inside, and I still have to go to my gym and put on a show and pull happiness from honestly nowhere. I would leave that place physically and emotionally and just mentally drained every day. And it eventually hit a bottom. I remember I was watching a UFC fight with my buddy, and we had been at somebody's house, and I just was just seriously zoned out. I wasn't watching the fight. I was kind of just there. And as I'm getting up to leave, I'm like, I got to go. I just get up to leave. My buddy walks out and he says, Anthony, this is your reality. And what he was pretty much saying was, get out of the phase, dude. Accept this is your life. This is a situation you're in, and you need to wake up. So I remember I got my car and I drove off, and then all of a sudden this crazy wave of just the most painful emotions I'd ever experienced just poured over me. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't figure out what to do. It was just a blur. And I remember driving off somewhere, and I got to this point where it's I don't physically want to have this feeling anymore. I want to stop. I don't know how to get rid of it. And so I sent a text message to my closest friends, and I said, please tell my children who their father was. I was often on a kind of a search for rat poison, to be honest, and I was done. I get to a point where I stopped my car because no stores were open, thankfully, that could sell something like that. And I just parked my car somewhere, and I kind of just sat. And then a few, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes later, someone had been texting me back and forth. I don't even remember all of it. It was a blur. The police show up. Apparently GPS on my phone had found me. And so Police pull me over. They tell me to go home. I have a gun that I own, but at the time, my wife, she couldn't find it, so she assumed I had it on me. So they got there, assumed I had a gun. I was like, no, I have no gun. And anyways, they sent me back home, and then I remember it was this moment where I had a buddy that kind of spoke a real simple life into me that kind of gave me a really simple seed I needed. And he says, man, when you took off, and I heard that, he says, we were all searching around town for you. He says, I physically was sick. I threw up. He's like,
Wow.
I in my mind had thought that I'd lost a hero. And I was like, wow, like, why I'm just a buddy. Like, how am I a hero? It's no, man, the things you've gone through, what you've achieved, what you've done. He's like, you are a hero to a lot of people out here. And it was the first moment that I stepped back and realized that you have to be mentally healthy and be aware of like your surrounding situation, or else you can go to a dark place. And so I went to that dark place. And it made me really realize that it's tough because every person's life is different. And I can't say this as a whitewash and say this is everybody, but everybody has a purpose here. And you may not see it. And so for me, my mental health at that time, I wasn't crazy. It was more like a lack of judgment just in a moment. It was a very emotional, momentary thing.
Sure.
Only time I've ever in my life ever had thoughts like that. Never had thoughts like that since. It was just one of those moments of just, damn, it sucks. And luckily I got out of it. And looking back on those moments now, there was things I wasn't doing that I believe were necessary and are necessary for other human beings to continue to keep doing, which is one, open up and share. There's a lot of stuff that we go through on a daily basis that nobody else knows about because nobody else shares.
Sure.
And so because of that, you feel really, really alone. You feel as though I'm the only one experiencing this. I don't want to say something that's embarrassing. I don't want anybody to know my chinks. I don't want anybody to know to me. And not judge me. And so for me, I kept it all inside, and it was just this pressure building and building until I had let it out somehow. And so if you think about how this all works, it's really just a perspective of mind. It's how you see things. And so for me, if I'd have seen it as like, this isn't the end, there's, life can continue on. If I'd have had that viewpoint in that moment, it would have been way better for me in my life. I also realized that there has to be proactive, in my mind, like extra effort to try to seek out things that you can be proud in your life. I think a lot of people don't have the ability to see their life, what they've accomplished as a proud thing, as they're doing some kind of great. And when you don't have that in the background, what happens is you're always feeling less than. And for me, although I achieved some great things, I at the time I felt like, I just lost my career in the NFL. My business wasn't going so well. I thought I was a loser. And when you have that thought in your head, you really feel like, why am I here? What am I doing? And so I think there's a lot to the story, a lot to the depth of that. One of the realizations that I had was you've got to, and this is a tough one. When I got to that point, I felt very, very vulnerable, and I felt very out of control, like I was the whim of the world. And when you feel like you're helpless, like truly helpless, it's very defeating, because now you're like, okay, well, nothing I do is going to fix this. Why even try? Mm-hmm. And so what I realized was I was in a situation where I had, this situation, I had my marriage, and in my mind, I have no control. I'm helpless. This is always going to happen to me. Might as well just give up now, because, it's the end of the world. It's nothing that can be fixed. But it's crazy is I had this thought later on after the fact that gave me a really, it's a tough realization to accept, but in anything you have, in your life, you are part of that problem. So for me, in my mind, I blamed it on her. How could you do this? How could you do this to me? How could you do it to your family? But the reality is that somewhere along the lines of our marriage, the two of us together got us to a point where she felt she had to make a choice. Now that she made the choice on her own, but she didn't get to that place by herself. And so in that moment, when I could finally accept that I had some faults in the direction we went, it sucks because you have to admit that you didn't do something great, but there's a little bit of a silver lining, because now you realize, well, hey, if that's the case, I did have some control. And when you realize you do have some control, you say, hey, maybe I can change this and it won't happen again in the future. And so that's kind of how I've viewed my life in all situations that are negative and problematic is, okay, this sucked. What was my fault in it? What can I change? What can I make sure never happens again? And so in that aspect, it's given me some clarity of like my mindset. Every day that I wake up, how I approach the world, how I approach the day is I have control. And that control, even if it sucks that I made a mistake, I was in control of making that mistake. When you get to that little simple point, things become a little bit brighter, a little bit more manageable, because now you can say, you know what, this sucked. I can make it better in the future though.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That's really powerful, because I know for myself, I've been to a really dark place and I've had those suicidal thoughts, and it really crushes you inside. So really, thank you for sharing that.
Very welcome.
For yourself, in order to get yourself out of that dark place, to move from that place of helplessness and where you really felt hopeless, what was the real needle mover for you that really helped you get out of that place?
Oh, man. Well, I think at first it was accidental, but at this point in time, I've looked back and actually created a full structure around how I've done it and how I do it. And it's something you can apply to anything. So Trust Your Hustle is, in fact, it's a name, but it's also a blueprint. It's a structure. It's a process. And so I created what's called the Creare Blueprint. And Creare means to create, whether it's to create a business, create a new body, create a new life, right? There's steps you have to go through to create. And I think that's humanity's unique ability is we can create, and every animal they can make nests and build bridges and dams and stuff, right? So for me, it's we create, but we've got to have a process to do it. And sometimes it's a recreation. It's sometimes going back to, the fundamentals and saying, hey, I built this thing, but I didn't like what I built. How can I rebuild this, right? So there's 3 specific steps we all have to go through. I don't care who you are, what you've done, you have to go through these 3 steps. You may have done them accidentally, but here's what they are. The first stage is C, second stage is sacrifice, third stage is sustain. So the C phase it's a twofold. Everything's pretty much twofold. The C phase is pretty much saying where have you faltered? Where have you stumbled? Mm-hmm. What is very specifically holding you back or in the place you're at that you don't want to be? If you do not have clarity or self-awareness to see why you are where you are still, you're always going to still be there. I don't care what you try to do. If you can't figure out what chain is attached to your back, you're never going to get any farther than that chain. You can spin in a circle. You can go in different directions, but you'll always get back. So the first piece, and that's an ego-driven thing. We will not see what's wrong with us because we don't want to accept the fault. And so the moment you can accept the fault and be like, all right, I messed this up, you give yourself permission to see why, and you can unhook the chain a little bit. Then, now the chain's unhooked, where you go, right? It's the big thing. It's okay, cool. I figure out what's holding me back now. What do I do? And that's usually a big problem for people. And so you've got to, there's steps we go through. This is going to be an overarching aspect, but you got to start seeing clearly where you can go. And that comes from 2 areas of just pretty much one, go in the area that it's common that you feel comfortable doing, which most people will do. I feel comfortable getting this job, pursuing this person as a spouse, going and taking this trip, whatever it is, right? But those things don't make you come alive. Those things don't really spark your interest. The other part of what you have to see is the risky, scary things that make your heart pump a little bit fast, that really light you up. Those things are the ones that really people should start pursuing, because when you different purpose, a different drive. And so once you see, brings a different vigor to life. And so when you can see where you want to go, you can go that direction, right? That's a big piece of it. Yeah. Once you see where you want to go and you're unhooked, now you got the next step. This is where people most of the time they make great plans, right? I got this great idea. I'm going to make this amazing thing. It's all going to pan out perfectly. And then they don't do anything. And so
I totally agree with you there. It's the plan you have to do. So I always say dream, believe, plan, and do. You have to do it once you've planned it.
I agree. And the thing is, some people, they'll buy planners, but have no idea how to plan. It's the weirdest thing. And some people, they'll never actually infuse their plans in their life because they don't know how to break down the different plans and ideas. What they do is say, I'm going to get this thing done, and I'm going to start next week. And they start going, and they run into all these different roadblocks they didn't anticipate because they didn't think it out or plan correctly. Yeah. And now they get defeated. Now it's this is never going to pan out. And they just hang it up. And it's not that they had to hang it up. If they'd have just stepped back and advanced into the proper planning and execution, or even just deconstruction of their ideas, they would have easily been able to pursue it and get it done. But people fall short because they don't plan correctly. So you have to plan these things out. And then once you have it planned out, it does a couple things. One, it allows you to have less fear of the unknown because now you can see things a little bit. But you also get this amazing confidence and hope, wow, I can see the pathway now. When you can see the pathway, you'll cross the bridge. I mean, imagine if we're sitting here in front of a rushing river and I'm on one bank and my dream's on the other bank of the river. And I got to get over there, but there's this big rushing river. If I'm sitting here looking at this river, it's I'm not going to hop in there. I'm going to die. I'm going to go in there. But if I take you by the shoulders and turn you to the right and show you this bridge that's built, I'm going to cross that bridge. Perfect, right? So in life, you have to build your own bridge or have somebody help you build a bridge. And then that becomes your plan. And now you get up to the bridge and you got to cross the bridge. Now, the bridge isn't like this beautiful San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, right? It's really like one of those rickety ropes and board ones. Right? It's scary. It's because if you want to achieve a dream, it's going to be a scary process to get there. And it's rickety and it sways, but it's stable. But along the way, a plank may fall out. You got to step over it, right? You got to keep on moving because you can't go back. You got to go forward till you fall in. And so once you have the ability to see that, now you got to move. And what I do with a lot of people is create an action day. The action day is, as much as people plan out an end date, like I want this to be done by this date, they never really do a structured action day, like when you pull the trigger. And day one looks like. No one does that, which is weird. Like if I'm going to plan this thing out and I know I want to get it done, how am I going to get it done if I never know when I'm going to start it? So I set up a day to start. And then once we start moving and you get going. And then from there, the last piece is if you've worked correctly, you've got some success. But now you have to look at the longevity of your life. No one wants to have success that's short-lived, here today, gone tomorrow. You want to have things that last for a while. So sustainability is key. And if you look at how you plan, look towards sustainability, all you're really trying to do is say, hey, how can I create great habits and great structures around my life that allow me to not only sustain like the success I have, but sustain growth towards greater success. And so in that aspect, it's a matter of stepping into yourself and saying, hey, what am I doing poorly? What am I doing well? What do I want to continue to do? What do I want to stop doing? Like, how do I sustain the peace and the happiness and success that I've created for my life so I don't have to go back to that place I just came from?
Awesome. So for yourself, if you were to set a well-being challenge that people really want to get out of a dark place or they want to get out of a rut that they're in and really move themselves forward to the success that they're looking for, what challenge would you set someone from a well-being perspective for Wellbeing Wednesday?
First one's going to be get clarity. Self-awareness and clarity is big. You can't fix what you can't see. If you walk into a dark room right now and you hear some noise, but there's no lights on, you have no idea where the noise is coming from, what that smell is. This is just stuff, right? But the first thing you could do is flip a light switch on. That's what we do when we enter rooms. And so if you want to start the process towards your Wellbeing Wednesday, it's get clarity. And so what I would do is the twofold things. Some simple exercises you can do are to be very open and vulnerable and ask two different types of people a couple questions. Ask a person who loves you, cares about you, likes you. Ask them, hey, what do you think that you see in me that might be holding me back? Ask them like transparently. And they'll tell you, like, hey, if they love you, they'll tell you. Then this is the one that's difficult, but oddly will give you some of the best insight. Find somebody who doesn't like you very well, like not very much. Like, and they may not hate your guts, but you and them just you're not perfectly in tune, because most of those people are looking for an opportunity to tell you what they think about you, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And what you tell them is say, look, I'm trying to get some
we lost you a bit again.
And I'm going to give myself the. Oh, are you there? Am I back?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
how about now?
I just lost you. Yeah, that's good.
But sit down with them and say, hey, I know we may not be in the best of terms, but I think you might be a great person to help me with this problem. I'm trying to figure out, how do you see me? What do you see about me that you think is not the greatest, right? And let them just tell you without getting mad, because they may say some angry things, but let them do what they do. But this gives you a chance to step away and say, oh, this is how I am seen. Because we can never really see ourselves the way other people see us. It's very different filter, different eyes. And so in that, you just get some insight. And then from there, you can start saying, okay, damn, this is why I'm stuck here. At least get a bigger picture of like, this is why I keep running the same wall, why I keep doing this, and then give yourself permission to change it. And then from there, step back and say, okay, now that I see that, what is it that I feel comfortable going towards that I can improve or improve my life and be better at? I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
What can I improve on my life? Yeah, and I saw you freeze. And then the other piece is, what is an area that scares the crap out of me, but I really want to go towards? And the reason that's so important is because it would not scare you if it wasn't important to you.
So write it down. So make sure you look at what people see in you from somebody is really close to you. Ask somebody that you maybe don't connect with, and then write down what you need to do to make the change.
Exactly. And that'll give you some clarity. And then find what you can adjust and fix. And then I think it's big to find something that scares you just a little bit. Usually it's something that scares you because you find it to be important or worthwhile. If not, it wouldn't scare you. For me, like things that scare me may not scare other people, but vice versa, right? It may be easy for some, but you only have something that scares you if it's important to you somehow.
Yeah, great. So for people want to take on that challenge, find out what people see in terms of you personally from a close relationship perspective and somebody that is not maybe as close as you are, and then to set that challenge for yourself, to do those steps to really push your boundaries, to move yourself forward. It's something that's important. They can sign up below on the link below from social media. If they sign up below, they can join Ruth's Wellbeing Warrior Facebook group and then get involved in the 90-day Wellbeing Warrior Challenge to really move yourself up to that level, another level. Any last words from yourself, Anthony, in terms of well-being?
Well, but man, trust your hustle, people. That's it.
Trust your hustle.
It's a process. Just don't rush the process. The process is supposed to be the process. And when you start falling in love with just the steps of the journey, then you realize that the destination isn't the destination, but the journey is the destination. And that's pretty much it. Take awesome. Baby steps. Fall in love with every day of hard work and appreciate yourself every step you take.
Absolutely awesome. Thanks, Anthony, for your time on Wellbeing Wednesday. And look forward to hearing what everyone has to say on their success on the Wellbeing Challenge.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Go get it, people.
Go get it, people. You heard it here.